following content contains topics of discussion that may act as a trigger for some viewers. Please continue with care. If you or someone you know is in need of immediate assistance, please call 911 to reach local authorities or 988 for the Suicide Crisis Helpline. Welcome back to the MINAWAANIGOZI podcast. I'm Thomas Laforme here with Greg Wilson.
How you doing, guys? Thanks for having me, Tom.
Thanks for being here, man. It means a lot. Hopefully we can get the message out.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm here for. Help the folks at home and show that we know what we're doing.
Yeah, at least we think we do.
Well,
yeah. Well, we care.
Yeah, we care.
Yeah, we'll show the folks that we care.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a former student at UNB. Grew up in Miramichi, New Brunswick. Mental health has always been a part of my journey in life, I guess you can call it. Me and some students that I was working with in the high school, we started a mental health organization, just kind of showing the word that there's shouldn't be a stigma around mental health. So we can touch on that later on if you want.
Yeah, sounds great.
But yeah, we play rugby together, so that's how we kind of met. And heard about this, and I was like, hell yeah, brother, got to get on the podcast.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, after Keegan get on here, I got a little jealous. Got to get on there with you.
Yeah. Well, I should ask you first, but you're intimidating, I guess. That's why I didn't.
Intimidating,
At practice.
It gets intense.
And Keegan's pretty intimidating too, man. He gets right into it.
Oh, man, he gets pretty rowdy. But, that's part of the sport, right? You hit the pitch, it's 80 minutes of war, and then you're off the pitch, and you're with your family.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for real.
But I can see that being intimidating, right? Big burly guy out there running around, sweating,
talking a lot, leading warm-ups. Like, that was the big thing, Like, it's just, you can tell you're a leader out there, and that the boys look up to you. So because
I appreciate that.
I
personally think that our team is full of leaders, right?
Yeah,
like it's a brotherhood.
I agree 100%.
Right? Yeah. That's one thing that was very welcoming. My rookie year was Dexton Fox came right out, shook my hands, like, hey, I'm a player on the team. I had no idea he was the captain. And he's like, here, man, here's the locker room. Let's go. Let's get at it. Let's play some rugby.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's always welcoming, right?
What position did he play?
He was in the backfield. I was a front rower at the time, so backfield is not my vocabulary. But he was inside center, I believe, at the time.
Cool.
Unreal player. Played in the MLR. I'm not sure if he's still playing now. I know he plays Loyalist. But even when he's playing Loyalist, he's just an all-star out there. Crazy player. His IQ is just crazy high. And he's a big guy. He started off as a football player, and he trimmed down a bunch of weight, put on a bunch of muscle, and he found rugby as his sport. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, man.
That's like me too. Yeah, I started with football. Played football for probably 10 years before I even thought about rugby.
Same here, man. I was scared of rugby.
Yeah, man.
I was scared of it.
It is intimidating, like watching the guys hit, but in football you have all that equipment.
Exactly.
So you feel like you can run into them and make crazy hits. When rugby, you got to be smart about it.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people, too. Like, I started off, I should say, playing hockey my whole life, soccer, whatever else, just around town.
Right.
And then I was at a French school for 10 years. And then I saw my buddies transferring over in 9th grade, and I didn't go. And I regretted it every single day because I was like, I want to play football. I want to be aggressive and not get in trouble, right? Like, I just want to be a part of that team, be a part of that culture, like, whatever. I played some provincial ball when I was younger, and I was like, man, I'm kind of good at this, Like, I can use my size to my advantage and really have fun with it,
Right.
Make some brothers. And, I started playing football at the age of 12, I think it was, around that age. Played the city league, provincial, and then the summer league, and going into high school into grade 10, making that transfer from the French school to the English school, I started playing. I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, yeah, you get hurt here and there, but like you got the pads, you got the helmet, right?
Right.
You feel great. And then watching rugby, I was like, oh, I don't know about that.
It's scary for sure.
No, it is.
Yeah.
But here I am now as a rugby player. Haven't looked back since.
For how many years?
Oh, geez. Played 3 years of high school, 2 years of men's, and 3 years at UNB so far. So, give or take, with seasons crossing over, like 6 or 7 years.
That's great, man. That's a long time.
Yeah, it's all about the sport, man.
Yeah.
It's all about the sport.
No, some of the nicest guys I've ever met are rugby players.
I think it's because they go through so much shit.
Yeah.
Like, you get tackled 20 times in the first 20 minutes of a game. It humbles you.
Yeah,
It humbles you. You're no longer the macho man with all the muscles, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
No, when I first started playing rugby, I was in grade 10, and I went to a Catholic school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they had football like off season of the public schools where I transferred from. So I didn't play football, but it was during rugby season. So my football buddies played rugby and said, "Hey,
Can I get into it?"
Yeah, you should give this a try." So I did, and I like 2 days into my rugby season, like I had a practice on Tuesday, where it was mostly a watching practice. Practice on Wednesday, had a game on Thursday.
Damn.
And in that game, I like broke some kid's neck, dude. I like dump tackled him. I didn't really understand the sport fully. Like I was just a football player out there playing, and I like dump tackled him, kind of fell on top of him onto his head. Like had to call an ambulance and shit. Like I was bawling my eyes out, dude. Probably like crying harder than he was crying.
Hey, you feel bad.
And this dude had a broken neck. Yeah, no, I felt terrible, man. And like I'd done something similar like that in football, but not someone's neck, like their leg. And sure, like he was in pain, man, screaming, and I was still crying more than him. I mean, I was a lot younger at the time.
Yeah.
But like I feel terrible. Like I've never enjoyed hurting someone.
No.
Especially like physically.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing about like the difference between football and rugby, right? Football, and I can say this from where I was at, it's almost like a meathead mentality, right? You see red, and it's all about making that hit, right? Because then you get a 30-second break between each play.
Yeah.
Where rugby, it's like, okay, I'm not gonna, kill this dude because one, it's gonna hurt me. Two, it's probably gonna hurt him, and I'm gonna have to talk to him at the end of the game.
Right.
Right. I'm gonna have to buy him a beer or shake his hand and be like, "Hey, man, sorry about that."
Right.
Right. So there's more of a camaraderie in the sport.
And it's like 40 minutes before you get a break.
Oh, exactly. And even at that, it's short.
Yeah.
Right.
10 minutes.
So I can see why you felt bad, right? Like I know sometimes there's a picture from when I was playing on I think it was the high school team, I believe. We were playing against Riverview, and everything was fine, and then I dump tackled this one guy, and I knew him from like some of the Team New Brunswick camps I went to, so I helped him up, and I was like, Joey, man, sorry about that, but someone got that on like as a picture, and I always shared that to like my family and friends and stuff, showing like, yeah, I might go and play 80 minutes of war, but like I'm playing against buddies.
Yeah.
Even if I don't know their name, I know who they are from the game before. I help them up.
Give them a tap on the ass.
Yeah, and we keep going.
Yeah.
That's all it is. But yeah, breaking someone's neck, that'd be traumatic for everyone around, I think.
Yeah, man, no, it was tough.
Yeah.
Like while we're waiting for the ambulance and stuff, buddies, like all my teammates, they're like, "Oh man, you better keep your head up." Like I could hear them talking about gunning for you. Not one person targeted me, man. Like it was
It's part of the game.
Yeah, and I feel like they understood that. They were a good group of guys too. But like we were really young and rivalries and stuff. Like we ended up playing them again in the playoffs. And buddy actually that I broke his neck was there at the playoff game, and he was jogging.
Really?
Yeah, like it wasn't like he was paralyzed or nothing.
Okay.
Like he had some 2 broken bones or vertebrae. I don't know if they were broke or chipped or what.
Fractured
but man, to see him and his curly ass hair like jogging back onto the field, I was pretty pumped because like he was still on the team. Like he was still going to all their games and stuff.
That's
like
good,
it wasn't
man.
like he was afraid of the sport or anything either. Like he still stayed on the team, and I got to see him at the end of the year. So
That's good.
It helped me a lot. Yeah, I did break this guy's leg one time in football. He was on my team in practice.
Oh.
And I like fell into the back of him.
Yeah.
And he was out of commission for like years, man. It took him years to heal. Like his bones, he had pins in them. They'd take the pins out, and his legs would shift. Like,
damn.
Well, he was young too. I don't know why it wasn't healing. Like it was just like that one wasn't as lucky. I have no idea where he is these days or how he's doing, but
shout out to that guy. Hopefully he's doing better.
Yeah, and you know the worst thing is like I can't even remember his name right now, and I was just talking about him a few days ago. But yeah, no, shout out you, buddy, with the broken leg.
Yeah.
His younger brother ended up playing with my younger brother too, so I did see him like
later on
the next season or like 2 seasons later. Man, he's still in like crutches and a cast.
Happens.
Oh, it's terrible.
I was on the receiving end of one last year. I was all pumped up for training camp to start. First day went great. We had the 6 a.m. run and all that stuff. Second day, we did the 6 a.m. run. And Keegan, actually, who was on your podcast the other day, he was living at my old spot with me just for the week because his rent or his lease only started up
Okay.
like a week into training camp. So I was like, yeah, man, come on out. My girlfriend's out of town. Like, just stay at my place, right? Anyways, first morning practice, one of our rookies, I think it was Wyatt at the time. Anyways, I sidestepped him and he made the tackle, perfectly clean tackle. And I was just so gung-ho and getting past him with the ball that I got one leg out of the tackle, and then he just kind of like held on to the other one, and I actually ended up tearing a small ligament in the back of my ankle.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I was out of the season for probably 6 weeks. I still played a few games.
This was in training camp.
Second day of training camp, man.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but you know what? Like I said, the boys had my back.
Yeah.
Keegan had to drive my thick ass around all the time in my truck. I couldn't drive. It was my pedal foot.
That's
so
terrible.
yeah.
So you were out of work and stuff? Or you weren't working all the time?
I was in school at the time.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that was 2 seasons ago.
Okay.
But I mean, I still ended up playing a few games. I missed out like on the UMaine game and stuff like that, which was whatever. It's not the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was shitty, right, to say the least.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Did it hurt?
Oh yeah, it hurt. Oh yeah, it hurt. Like right away, like the ankle was just swollen, and my biggest concern was, are they gonna have to cut my cleat? Because I just bought them,
Brand new cleats.
brand new cleats, and they weren't expensive. They're like $100,
Still though.
but they're nice and they're
Brand
mine,
new.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm like looking at Woodsy, our coach, and I'm like, Woodsy, should we take it off or should we leave it on? He's like, no, leave it on, tighten it up, keep the swelling down from the foot, keep it up by the ankle. You're gonna need it. And Roy Hickey came and he said the same thing. And our trainers at the time were like, well, if it's broken, we might have to take it off, whatever. And I was like, okay, we're gonna leave it on for now. Let's tighten the hell out of it. Let's go to the hospital. Boys grabbed the truck, wheeled me over to the truck, hopped in, drove to the hospital, got the X-rays. Everything was fine. It was just a high ankle sprain and a low ankle sprain. I think it was a 3rd grade or grade 3, whatever they call it, which is a tear.
Right.
They're like, oh, you can get surgery or you can just do the physiotherapy. And I was like, oh, I'll take the physio. I'll stay away from the surgeries.
Yeah.
But now I'm fine. Like the ankle hurts some days, but it's very best. But
It seems strong when you're running.
yeah, I mean, some days it feels a bit weaker than others, but I mean, maybe that's the beers I had the night before, right?
Fair enough.
Never know. Yeah. You wait till you get like a professional like Nick on here, man. Like Nick's so easy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Like it was before you joined the team or whatever, and yeah, like he gave his spiel to us, and it was just rolling off the tongue. Like he knew what he was gonna say. He had his notes with him.
Yeah.
And he'll probably have it with you, but like his message was, you know, it left an impact on me for sure. I can't speak for everyone else, but
Yeah.
it seemed like it really touched some people.
You remember like what he said?
To the T, no, but he's basically giving his journey and where his mental health went down and stuff, where he was playing hockey, because he's a wicked hockey player, right?
Yeah.
And he went from playing, you know, some AA and AAA, and then he, you know, got drafted into the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, right? The Q.
Yeah.
And you know, he was shipped all over the place over in Quebec and stuff. And he said that's when he was at his lowest. He was away from everyone. Everyone spoke French.
Right.
People he was living with all spoke French.
That would not be easy.
No, it wouldn't have been, right? But I won't tell too much of his story. I won't spoil it for you.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're gonna have Nick on in a hopefully next episode, but
Yeah.
it might be a couple episodes from now. I actually don't even know where I'll place this one. This one might be the first one.
Yeah.
We said welcome back there at the beginning, but this one might end up being the intro.
Yeah, man. It works.
Yeah, I'm not really sure yet. I'm gonna probably release April 1st, so until then, I'm still kind of just figuring it out.
Yeah,
Trying to
man.
get as many kind of produced as I can.
Mm-hmm.
That way, like
juggle it
during
around.
exams time, I can kind of focus on exams, but
Yeah.
I still have a couple episodes in. But
Yeah.
I don't think like I'm gonna worry too much about like what day I'm gonna post. Or the idea is really just to get the message out there and share awareness and just kind of have mental health as a topic of discussion.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time it's frowned upon or
Well, it's a stigma. There's
Yeah.
a stigma around it, right?
yeah, big time, especially for men, like you were saying earlier.
Oh, big time. Like, personally, like I lost my grandfather to suicide when I was 10 years old, and I didn't understand it at the time, right? Now that I'm older and I did my research and I figured out what was going on, I understand. And I looked at the stats. I don't know the exact numbers now, but it was in the 80s, like 80%. Say it's 85%, right? I'm just throwing out a number. 85% of men over the age of 85 years old or whatever it is think about suicide, and then out of that 85%, 30 of them actually do it.
Right.
Right?
Which is insane, yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. I should have brought the stats with me, but it's eye-opening.
Yeah.
It's
No,
eye-opening.
like you notice it, man. Like I don't know if you how often you've hung out with like older people,
Mm-hmm.
but you talk to them most time, like most of them are miserable. They obviously miss their partners, and they're
Yeah.
always talking about, I pray to God every day
Mm-hmm.
to take me, like that today will be
Mm-hmm.
my last day.
Yeah.
It's like people should wake up grateful that they're still alive, but
Right.
like you said, 80 or 85% of people
Mm-hmm.
over the age of, you said 85,
Yeah.
wake up not wanting to live anymore. Like I understand that life can get tough,
Yeah.
especially as things get harder, like to move and
100%.
your brain starts to deteriorate. But yeah, like it's just a very sad thing.
Well, that's just it. Like, it's easier said than done to say, oh, don't do that, right? Which is the whole stigma behind it. But I mean, everyone fights their own battles. They got their own demons, right? So whatever my grandfather was going through, that's his thing. It didn't end up the way anyone wanted it, right?
Right.
But yeah, since then I've been a mental health advocate. The organization that I started in the high school was MV Real Talk. So I went to Miramichi Valley. A friend of mine had tried to commit suicide. Thankfully, her parents were home, helped her out. And after that, I was like, hey, no, I really got to do something, right? It ran through the family, the mental illness, the troubles. And then I was seeing it in my friends. And that was the eye-opener. And I said, I got to do something. So then we started it up, and I went looking around. I asked the principal, vice principal, my vice principal, Mary Lou Hudson. Shout out to her wherever she's at nowadays. She was like all for it. She directed me to Miss Kelly. She was the English teacher. And she said, yeah, let's start something. And she had some students in mind that would be willing to help. So I think there was 6 or 7 of us by the end of it. And I was only after a week of asking around.
That's crazy.
Right. And we changed a few things around the school. We had some murals painted, and they were done by students. We had a little competition for it and stuff like that.
Nice.
We had a wellness breakfast where we had students and teachers and staff playing music. There's one guy, he's on Spotify and everything. It's Mr. Whalen is what we called him, but his band is the Terry Whalen Band. Anyways, he was playing. He's amazing. He's a big guy and he can sing.
He was like your age?
No, he was a teacher.
Oh, he's a teacher.
He's a teacher.
Cool.
Yeah. So he was out there singing in the cafeteria, and I was working at Sobeys at the time, so I made pancakes the night before. I think we made 800 pancakes.
Damn.
Yeah, at the bakery. Yeah, it was crazy. Me and a couple of the staff. And we served them for free. You just show up, you miss your first period, which sadly, that's what most people just wanted to do, is miss the first period. But we had, all the pancakes, some bacon, eggs, like just a wellness breakfast where you can go, be relaxed, feel safe, stuff like that. Yeah. So we had a few things moving around in the high school. Now I think it kind of fell off the wheels because we all kind of graduated over the last couple of years. So there's not much there now, but we did make a difference, right? We got some walls taken out and some put in for the guidance counselors, stuff
Perfect.
like that.
Yeah.
Right? Make it more safe, make it more comfortable for them.
Right.
And the students going to see them.
Yeah, their job's important, man.
Yeah.
That was like one big thing that I remember when I was in high school. I had some great guidance counselors, but I also had some guidance counselors that didn't really care. Mm-hmm. They weren't the best at the guidance part of the whole counseling, I guess. Like they were there if they needed you, but I felt like there was just a lot of students in these big cities. It's a lot different than Miramichi Valley, but in this big city I grew up in, I didn't really have the right guidance, especially for mental health. But I was actually the opposite of kind of how I am now when I was in high school. Yeah, I was kind of a bully.
Really?
Not like bully. Like I wouldn't really like pick on people, but I would like pick on my friends. You like joke around with your friends and stuff. It was like that, but I was probably getting a little extreme sometimes. Yeah. And I bet you most of my friends that I would pick on, they probably feel the same, like they picked on me, or they think that it wasn't really that big of a deal. But a lot of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today is because I need to make up for a lot of the bad things I've done and some of the things I put people through. But yeah, another reason why I'm doing this is just because the numbers, the statistics, they are
It's crazy when you start
really
reading,
bad.
man.
Yeah. I have some here says that 50% of Canadians, so like one out of every, like if it was you and me,
Yeah.
one of us
Yeah.
is guaranteed to have unmet mental health needs. So like resources, finding the correct doctors, being on the right medication, having access to this medication if you need it, just any kind of mental health kind of resource.
That's huge, man.
Yeah,
Like,
man, 50% of people.
it's sad to think. Like, I mean, COVID didn't help, right? COVID scared people and got them locked in their homes and stuff like that. And I mean, before COVID, yeah, 50% is still huge. I'm surprised that number didn't go up because of COVID, right?
Yeah, I think this number is the post-COVID number.
Okay.
This one's from 2024. But yeah, like that's 50, like every other person dealing with mental health doesn't get support. And the
That's
number
crazy.
probably is higher. It's probably more like 3 out of every 4, close to 75%. Because we had mentioned that like not everyone is open and speaks, which is why another reason why we're here is we're just trying to
exactly.
let everybody know that it's okay to not be okay. And there's a lot of people, especially men, that aren't always okay. And we just want to be feeling right and feeling better.
Yeah.
So every other person doesn't have or they have unmet needs when it comes to their mental health.
Well, like you said, like men, youth, it's everyone in general, right? Like everyone struggles with their own inner demons, as I call it, right?
Right.
Like personally, like growing up, I was in the same kind of boat as you. Tease with our buddies. Sometimes you go a little too far. I was also bullied growing up in high school, right? I fit in kind of in all the groups. I tried not to be in one of those cliques.
Right. Be in
but
the mall instead.
What's that?
Be in the mall instead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, man, I would just kind of float around, do my own thing. I had my tight group of friends, and we got out of hand sometimes. We get all pissy with each other, and we stop talking for each other for a day or two.
Right.
And then be like, "What are we fighting about again?" And we go on. But like sometimes you could sit back and watch and see what kind of negative impact that tomfoolery or whatever you want to call it, the teasing, the hazing,
Right.
could do on someone, right? And it shows a lot that you're doing this now to kind of like not backtrack, but kind of counteract what you're doing when you're in high school and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I feel the same way. Like once you get to know people and understand what they're fighting and stuff, you want to try to end that stigma that they can come out here and help or talk to like one of us or talk to anyone.
Right.
Right. That stigma is the biggest thing that we want to stop in general.
Right. And yeah, because there is just a negative stigma and people are afraid for whatever reason. Like I personally don't think it makes anyone weak to be open and honest about, especially the way they're feeling. I mean, most of the time or all the time, we can't really control our feelings. Like we can manage them and mitigate them, but we can't. I'm gonna feel happy because I want to feel happy. Like that's not a thing, right?
Yeah.
But you can take steps to then like feel happier, I suppose.
Well, I got a little story for you.
Okay.
Just recently, a buddy of mine picked him up for practice, and he was telling me that he started seeing a therapist. And I was like, really? Like I wouldn't, out of all people, I wouldn't expect him. He's like, yeah, man. Like, stressed out with school, stressed out with life. I need to talk to someone, right? And he's got his girlfriend, he's got the boys, he's got his parents, but like he wanted to go seek help with a professional.
Right.
So that's what he did, and I was like, so how was it? He goes, dude, it was fucking awesome. I was like, really? And he's like the typical big macho guy, he's always hazing the boys, whatever. But he said he was wicked. He's like, I don't know this person. Their job is to help me. I'm gonna take the help. And I was like, you know what? That's one step closer to ending the stigma, right?
Right. That's a great way to think.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even just like, and the fact that he's open to share that too, and was honest that he feels a lot better. That as many people as he tell, that might get them one step closer to going to see a therapist or
it takes
seeking
a lot.
out help. Because not everyone needs a therapist per se, but yes, there's many ways to feel better. Therapy is a great one for sure. I just recently started therapy again.
Nice.
And I love it too. The therapist at the school at UNB, Not even just the one, but all of them are amazing people who genuinely care about how we feel.
Well, that's what we want, right?
Yeah.
I see, like, when I was at UNB St. John, this one girl, she wanted to be a therapist. And at first I was like, oh, really? You know, like, do you think there's much work in that? And she's like, if you care, there is.
Yeah.
Right? If it shows that you care, you apply yourself in your studies and you do your co-op programs or your work placements and you actually go and you care and you help out and you make a difference, there's jobs. Right? So
Excuse me.
I think hopefully she's doing well now. I haven't talked to her in years, but she always said that her goal is just to help. Doesn't matter who.
Yeah.
She just wants to help.
I think there's a huge demand for therapy jobs. A lot of people these days go private. So you have therapists who work with exclusive clientele, which would be like your people with money. Because these services, the services aren't free. And when the government offers free services to Canadians, because we have free healthcare in Canada, it's still not free. It's just we're not paying for it out of pocket. Like someone still has to pay these therapists.
Yeah.
So like right now, I am privileged enough to have counseling at no cost through UNB, and it's some of the best therapists that I've ever seen.
Because they care.
Because they care, and I'm sure they get paid well.
I hope so. They're doing a big job.
And they're quite busy.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that if they went privated, they could probably make a lot more money. And you can kind of charge whatever you want, whatever you feel like you're worth.
Yeah.
And they're still here working with us, like getting to see kids that come in just a few times. And, you know, they feel better, but also having to deal with kids throughout their entire post-secondary education.
Yeah, well, that ties into post-secondary too, right? Like, I mean, I know when exams comes around, man, I'm stressed.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to anyone. Right? Like, I was never a scholar, mind you, but a test is one thing, but you get into midterms or you get into exams, it's a lot of stress, right? Some people resort to, you know, marijuana or booze or whatever. Me, I just wanted to go outside and relax, right? I'm a nature guy. I love fishing and hunting. That's my thing. It's my escape. But some people, that might not be the case. Right? So having those counselors there, it should help, right? And there shouldn't be a stigma of saying, oh, yeah, I went to see so-and-so and knowing that person's a therapist. Right? Because I know some people are like, oh, like that person's weak. I don't see it like that. And I know you don't either.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't. I feel like it's probably one of the strongest things you can do is to admit that you need help. Yeah. You have these people who do put other people down or feel like people are weak. Oh, you go see a shrink. Like that was you know, people in my family saying that to me. Oh, you need to see a shrink. You know, it's like now I guess like it doesn't bother me. It's like if that's what you need to tell yourself to feel better. Yeah. I guess like
go ahead.
You make me feel worse about myself because that makes you feel better. Then that's fine. I'll take it. But it's definitely not a weak thing to do. Like I said, I think it's one of the strongest things you can do. And I just learned that, like I knew that was the case, but I had some issues recently, and I had opened up to Coach Nick about it and just said like, you know, I'm having these issues. And he said, well, why don't you ask for help? So he like gave me some information. I asked for help and those issues were fixed like almost right away.
Man, shout out to Woodsy. Yeah, Nick Woods. I'm sure he's going to watch this. I went through some tough times, man, and he helped me through it. I didn't take the extra step because he helped a lot. Right. You know, I was living with a girlfriend at the time and she just got up and left, just dumped me. And I was like left in the void, right? So like I was lost.
You didn't even know. Like she literally just left without saying anything?
Give or take, yeah. Yeah, that's basically what it was.
That's tough.
And, you know, I moved in with Keegs a month later. He helped me out. But, you know, we practiced Monday, Wednesday, Friday games on Saturday. I was there Monday through Sunday, every single day at the field, man. That's just where I felt was home. Even if I was alone, I didn't feel it. Because I could see the plays that I was in or that I've seen on that field, down at college field. Right. And I was there, like the women's team would be there practicing, I'd be hitting the scrum machine. right? I was doing rehab for my ankle. I was practicing my throwing in for lineouts. I was hitting bags.
Staying busy.
Just staying busy, right? That's what I had to do. And, you know, I had some late night talks with Woodsy and our other coach, Matt Barry. And, man, I'm telling you, having a coach or someone that shows a positive figure in your life, positive role model, is huge, right? Yeah, I could have went to a therapist, but I knew I could resort to the fellas or to close friends. And at that point in time, I was at the lowest of my lows, man. I was drinking, I was smoking weed all the time. I was just partying, because that's, I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about having a good time.
Yeah.
Right? Sat down with Woodsy several times, and talking to him, man, was just, it was eye-opening.
Yeah,
showing me that there is a brighter light.
He's inspiring.
He is, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's gone through his stuff, and, we've had talks about his stuff too, and I was there for him, right? And that all comes down, in my personal opinion, I might be a little biased, but I think that comes down to the companionship and camaraderie of rugby.
Right.
Right? Like, Woodsy might only be a couple years older than us, man. He's closer to yours than he is to mine, but, man, that dude's just like a brother,
I can tell, yeah.
He's there for everyone.
You can tell he, sometimes wants to really have a great time with us, but, he is supposed to be, this role model and our, leader of our team. And, I'm not saying he wants to go out and get in trouble or anything.
No.
Some of the younger fellas do, but, you can tell that because of that closer age to us, we, I guess we can have that kind of connection to him where he is like a brother.
Yeah.
Where, if he was, quite old, we would look at him more as a father figure than a brother figure.
Oh, exactly.
So it definitely makes it a lot easier.
And shout out to Coach Matt. He noticed that I was off, right? I never missed a practice. I still went to every single practice because I was I have to get it out. And I'd go and I'd hit 10 times harder. I'd run twice as fast, stuff like that. And one thing that happened that I'll never forget is we were just playing a game of touch, but you know how they throw in a couple rules, if you're touch, you're going to pop the ball instead of taking it to deck.
Right.
Well, I didn't hear those instructions at first. I was probably being a blabbermouth, talking to someone. And anyways, I kept on screwing up. And I just, with everything going on at home and trying to figure out what I was doing with school, trying to make money, trying to play rugby, right? Trying to lead, I just snapped. I was like, well, what the fuck do you mean? I started swearing and all this. And he's like, take a walk. Went in the locker room and I bawled. I bawled for 10 minutes. I don't even know why. Right? I just had to let it out. Woodsy came in as I was coming out and he said, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. On the way out, Matt looked at me and he gave me the head nod. I was like, yeah, thanks. I needed that little escape for a second and let it all out. And I was back to me.
Yeah.
Right? And then he was up from there.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
It's good that you're okay with saying you're a crier too.
Yeah, man, it happens.
Yeah, and
men do cry.
Yeah, big time. And sometimes I feel way better after a cry. I don't cry very often, but when I do, and especially when I'm crying for almost no reason. It's I don't know why I'm crying. I'm just emotional. I'm built in. I've held in my emotions for so long.
Adds up.
When you finally let it go, man, and you just start giving a good cry. You feel extremely better after, for sure.
You feel like shit during the time,
but
when it's done, man, it's great. It's kind of like a good workout.
Yeah,
the leg day.
Yeah,
you feel accomplished.
100%.
Yeah, man.
And I don't think it makes you weak to cry either.
No, man.
It makes you human.
Oh, well, that's just it, right? That's another stigma, right? It all comes down to the mental health of men and people in general, but for men specifically, we're supposed to be the big macho men, the leaders and all this stuff. It's that's not the point that should be made.
Right.
We're all human. We all cry. We all do whatever.
Right.
We're all the same.
Right? I understand society's role in trying to, but I mean, even just the men and women thing, it's still just a separation, scheme, I guess,
Yeah.
Because we are equal. I'm sure men are physically stronger and hairier. Sure, we have differences.
Yeah, all big time.
But we're all very similar.
Yeah.
And I guess those differences is another reason why we're here today, because everyone is different. Every last person's different. So you said therapy just didn't seem like it was something that you might need.
Yeah.
But it might be something that someone else needs.
Yeah. But who knows? Maybe 10 years down the road, if something happens and I need it, I'm not going to hesitate to reach out and find it.
If
right?
you weren't afraid to go to therapy.
No,
it's not something that you really needed to do yet.
At the time, I probably wasn't in the right headspace, but at the time I didn't think I needed it. I was like, you know what, I'm going to resort to what I know. And at the time it was rugby. You know, it was full-blown rugby season.
You found therapy through rugby.
Yeah.
So your therapy wasn't going to a doctor, going to a therapist. Your therapy was rugby.
100%, man. You couldn't have said that any better. Like, growing up, like, I'm covered in tattoos, man. Like, my whole arm, my legs. And it's all nature-related.
Right.
Most of it's fishing and hunting. And growing up, that's how I escaped. Right? In high school, when exams were going on and stuff like that, or, you know, sports were getting in the way of school and I wasn't doing good, I'd resort to going, taking a walk in the woods, relaxing, all that stuff. Now, I live in the city, huge into rugby. That's my escape, right?
Perfect.
That's my therapy, and I love it. Like I wouldn't change it for the world. Yeah.
Hey man, I love rugby and sports in general, not just rugby, but sports specifically. Exercise.
Oh, big time.
It's huge for mental health.
Yeah, there's again stats on it. I should have wrote it down, but some of the stats are saying that doing an hour of outdoor exercise, whether it be a walk or a game of rugby or playing tennis with your buddies or whatever, an hour a day can improve your mental health drastically.
Oh yeah,
That's everybody.
Some studies say even like as short as 30 minutes a day, and that's a brisk walk. Like that's just like if you want to go for a walk and breathe fresh air. I mean, depending where you live, some cities probably don't have fresh air, so pollution. But yeah, no, depending on where you are, if you go for a 30-minute brisk walk, like you're barely even sweating when you get back home.
Yeah.
Like that is that's huge. But I do think like pushing yourself to the limit is good too. Like you were talking earlier about like feeling accomplished.
Yeah.
Doing like small different things. I feel like really pushing yourself, like, even if you are just doing like one sprint, or like, you know, that one sprint turns into 2-3 sprints. It just cause like pushing your body past its like comfortableness.
Big time.
Really does help. Like feeling physically uncomfortable because you're working really hard does, like, in my opinion, benefits your mental health after, because you're like, man, like I didn't even have to do that. I did that, you know, and eventually it gets easier, and then you're like, I mean, that's more of a physical health thing, like just being able to increase what time max is, or shave a tenth of a second off your 40 time. Like those little achievements make you feel good about yourself, you know?
That's just it. Like if you look at all the negative things, that's how your mindset's going to be. If you start looking at, oh, I went to the gym today and I bench pressed 5 pounds more than last week.
Right.
Damn, I'm getting stronger. Right? You're moving forward.
But
that's what you got to look at.
I feel like in this day and age, especially like related with mental health, a lot of people don't compare themselves to themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Social media makes us compare. I would be watching you push 200 pounds at the gym on bench press, and I'm like, shit, I can only push 145.
Yeah.
So now I stop going to the gym, and I'm down on myself because I can't lift as much as Greg lifts.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, I know it might not be as exact, but like that subconsciously is happening to us just as we're watching, oh man, this guy can lift a lot, this guy can lift a lot.
Yeah, and that's true, man.
Yeah, like we don't think about it. We're like, oh, but then you do get discouraged, and it just has like a domino of effects on your mental health.
And I think that ties into everything with social media too, right? Like, oh, this person's achieving this and all that. Like, one of my biggest red flags, man, is I got a lot of buddies that are in their 30s and they've got a house, they've got a wife, they got a dog, they a full-time job. And it's like, I want that, you know? But I got to sit back and be like, okay, 22 years old, I got to finish school, I got to get my life on track before I start thinking of that stuff. Right? So I'm always comparing myself to not only social media, but people around me that are successful, right? I try to turn it into me trying to strive to be that, right? So I push myself harder. But yeah, social media, the people around you, everything in today's day and age, it's a mindset, right? Everybody's got the same mindset, like, oh, like, I want that, I don't have that, blah, 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 and they get down on themselves, right? So I know Keegan's done it a few times. I thought about doing it a couple of times, but taking social media breaks, you know? Like,
that would be huge, man. Yeah, I think that's a great way to improve your mental health, especially if you're one of those people who are on your phone a lot, like just scrolling.
Yeah.
So that's the poison, is scrolling.
Oh, dude, TikTok?
Yeah.
I'm the worst for that. I'll stay up an extra hour at night just scrolling on TikTok, watching random ass videos.
I'm the same, but like with reels on Instagram or like the Facebook videos, like it's all just from TikTok posted on this other stuff. Yeah, YouTube Shorts or whatever. No, I'm the same way, man. Guilty as charged. Just scrolling, getting lost in the phone. Those little hits of dopamine. Yeah. And you see a funny video, man. That shit makes you laugh, and then naturally your body's like, oh man, he's laughing. Let's throw in some happy chemicals. Must be happy. So then the next thing you know, your brain's like overwhelmed with all these, because you're seeing all these funny or like cute girls, let's say, or like cute boys maybe. Yeah. So you see all this stuff on Instagram, on TikTok. It's like false happiness that you give yourself, and then you come back to real life, like when you're alone in your bedroom. You're like, oh man, like that'd be the life, wouldn't it? Like, oh man, that got a wicked car. Like, I've always wanted that car, or whatever it may be. And you don't even really realize it, but it just like has complete effects on your entire mood. And
100%.
Yeah, it's terrible.
This past summer, I moved to Smithers, BC, so it's northwest. I think it's about 5 or 6 hours from Alaska.
Jeez.
Yeah,
we went way up there.
Oh yeah, dude, I was in the middle of nowhere, and I'm telling you, shout out to Smithers, wicked town, awesome town. Like, it's surrounded by mountains. You can't leave without seeing mountains. Like,
that's cool.
Our backyard, man. Like, you drive 5 minutes up the road, and there's a walking trail that goes halfway up the mountain, and biking trail. Hudson Bay Mountain. It was the coolest thing, man. Like, I grew up thinking about living out there. My father, my parents split up when I was young. I think I was less than a year old. Dad moved to Kitimat, BC, which was, I think, 3 hours or 2.5 hours from where I was living in the summer. And being a big fly fisherman and seeing Dad's pictures out there with all the salmon and stuff, that was something I always wanted to achieve. So I did compare myself to my father, but I made it happen.
Right.
I went out there, I worked the job, right? So I was out there as a forester, kind of. I was I don't know what the official title is, but worked for a consulting company. And I just worked in the woods all the time. And that brings me to the whole social media break. There's no service, man. Like, you're in the middle of nowhere. And I loved it. I like messaging the boys, Keegan, he's a DJ, live stream with him and Luke, and I'd love to like be home when they're doing that. And I did hop on a couple of their lives, but I was sitting in my room alone, which is fine by me.
Yeah.
And it was like a 4-month break from the world. I went and my dreams came true. I saw the Northern Lights. I saw grizzly bears within like 100 meters. I had them walking around my tent one night.
Jeez. Oh, yeah, that's scary.
It was scary as hell.
Like, was Big Shotty there?
Not even. I had a bear spray can that my father gave me, and it was expired. It was 16 years expired. Holy. So I don't even know if it works. I just carried it for that false hope.
Just in case.
Yeah. But yeah, man, like, I went out there. It was basically a social media break. I was still on social media a bit, but I didn't spend my time looking at it every night, right? Because, like, if we were out in camp, man, like, sometimes, there was we're at a lodge, the Kitwanga Junction Lodge. The guy's name was Ed, I think. I can't remember his wife's name. But they shacked us up for the week, Angus and I. And, there was internet there, so I got to talk to my parents and a couple of the boys and stuff like that. But I still didn't really try to be on social media because I knew it was like a poison.
Yeah.
Right? I was out there, fresh air every single day, 18, 20 hours a day. Right?
Lucky.
It was awesome. Yeah, I loved it. It was a good break. I came back for rugby and then the boys and my family, of course. And here I am now, right? Like, happy as can be. I shed a bunch of weight. I shed like 40, 45 pounds out there working.
I must say, man, you do look great. I've seen some photos of you before I met you.
Yeah, man. I was a big boy. I was pushing 260, man.
You weren't small, that's for sure.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
But that came back to the drinking, right? It was drinking. I was at the cellar all the time. I was at the cellar 3 or 4 times a week, man.
I've never been there.
You've never been to the cellar?
No.
Oh, damn.
We'll have to go sometime.
Yeah, man. Come with the boys.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
I was talking to my mom and my sister about that today. My sister's like, oh, your school is a bar, I'm guessing. I'm like, yeah, never been there, but they have one.
Yeah.
Because she went to a really small school where she didn't even have a bar on campus.
Really?
Yeah.
Where'd she go to school?
Redeemer, which is a Christian school.
Okay.
In Ancaster, Ontario. Just like Hamilton. Yeah, it's. I think they had like 1,600 kids or something tiny.
Oh, damn.
That might be pushing it, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, like they don't have very many students. It's like a very small private school.
Yeah, we'll have to hit the cellar sometime, man.
Definitely. We definitely do.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that tie into your mental health, right? The way you eat, your exercise, the amount of fresh air you get, sleep.
Literally everything.
Literally everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, they
Which
say
a lot of
like,
people don't know.
well, a lot of people don't know the difference between like mental health and like mental disorder. Like a mental disorder is something that you could be diagnosed with, where like mental health is just your state of well-being. Like everyone has mental health.
Yeah.
The same way everyone has physical health.
Yeah. Like having a hand.
That's
you have
right.
it.
Well, some people don't have hands.
Well, okay, yeah. Bad example.
But it's the right idea, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. And that's like, if you're human, you have mental health.
Yeah, for
you have a physical health. So there is a misconception that people just think, oh, like, I don't have mental health. It's like you do. You just don't suffer from mental health issues like some people do. And like I said earlier, 50% of Canadians have unmet mental health needs. So
that's so disappointing.
A lot of people not only have mental health issues, but half the people that do have them can't get the help that they need.
That or don't know.
Yeah.
Like don't know how to get the help.
Well, that's just one thing. They don't know how, or they don't know where to go. And then there's a lot of people, again, because of the stigma, who just don't say anything. So those, like I said, those numbers probably are higher than 50%. It's probably like 1.5, or like 1.5 out of every 2.
Yeah.
Like 75% of people, 3 out of 4 people, probably don't know what to do when they're not feeling right.
What to do, where to go, who to talk to.
And if they do, then there's, it says on average, what was it, on average it was 6-month wait to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Yeah.
That's ridiculous, man. Like, yeah, it's all supply and demand, just like anything.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are looking out for help. Realistically, there isn't, right? But say there's 100 people looking, and there's 10 people in the province that can help. You know, psychiatrist, therapist, whatever their profession is. That's a lot of people, right? And it's regular appointments. You know, it all adds up, and it comes down to money. It comes down to time.
Well, it comes down to money and time, and you mentioned, so I guess like you mentioned money, so like it says that to deal with the mental health needs, here in Canada alone, it costs $1.6 billion a year. And that's probably lowballing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, $1.6 million a year, that's just to help the mental health, and they still say that it's not enough.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so we say 50% of people, which could be more like 75% of people, have unmet mental health needs. And out of those, we're still paying $1.6 billion a year towards this mental health stuff, and it's still not enough to even help half of us.
Makes me wonder, like, what we have to change, right? There'd have to be a drastic change for everyone to be comfortable, everyone to know where to go, right, to get that help.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, that's the whole reason why we're doing this podcast, and that's why they classify us as being in a crisis. Canada, and not even just Canada, but the whole world is in a mental health crisis, and that's because there's just no one knows how to deal with how our bodies and our brains have changed over the last 100 years since technology's come around. Now, don't get me wrong, before we had all this technology, mental health was still an issue. People still, like, you go back in the records, people were still having like mental disorders.
Yeah.
They didn't talk so much about personal mental health on an individual level between everyone. They would only deal with these absolutely crazy people and then deal with their mental health because they were uncontrolled. But like a lot of people, we can control it, but now in society, like, everything's so fast paced, everything's super convenient, like, we're not growing our own food. So because of all that, like, we don't really know how to adjust. Like, physically, sure, we can adjust, but mentally we're having a hard time with this extreme jump in technology. And I think because of that, like, that's why we're seeing this extreme number. A lot of it has to do, it's got to. There's nothing else that's been different in time except technology.
Yeah.
Before, like, the last 100 years or 150 years, when, like, technology had this huge jump. And even just in the last 40 years alone, it's like huge jump.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's got to be the reason why. And also because, like, more people are talking about it, which, like, as more people are feeling comfortable, the number will go up some.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you asked me to be on this, actually, I kind of approached you. I was like, I want on, right? I knew that's why you're getting your message out, you know, make people more comfortable and show them that there is help. There's people talking about it. It's easy to talk about, right?
Right.
Like, for me to come on this, I wasn't stressed, man. I was happy to come out.
Right.
And I was looking forward to it all day. And I was telling the boys at work, like, oh, man, that's sick, right? Everyone was, like, all for it. Would those guys actually come on this podcast? I don't know, right? So us sitting here and you starting this talk of mental health, it shows a lot, I think. You know, two guys to begin with, not just two random guys, two guys that play rugby and you know,
played football for many years.
Played football, you know, older fellas that, you know, are well respected around.
Yeah, have really nice mustaches.
Yeah, that too. He asked my mother, and it's completely opposite. She hates it.
Yeah, I think my mom hates it too.
Yeah, oh, whatever. They love us anyways.
Well, it reminds them of, like, their era in the 70s.
Yeah, the 70s porn stars.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, man.
No, that's funny. But yeah, no, I agree 100%. And that is why we're here, man. Because, one, the stigma. Two, we're men. And the stigma's large with men. Especially young men. Some more statistics I have here is 24% of people who are struggling with mental health are between the ages of 16 and 24. 51% of those people who are dealing, so half of the people who struggle with mental health are between the ages of 24 and 44.
Damn.
So if that's not kind of showing that this huge technology jump in the last, like, 40 years probably has something to do with it. And you mentioned earlier in the pod that old people generally have a very like low or poor mental health. That's super accurate.
Yeah.
The willingness to live and to continue definitely gets lower. So, like, I mean, the target audience for us would probably be more towards, like, middle-aged and young people.
Yeah.
Just because we want to focus a lot more on exercise and athletes and things that, like, almost everyone could relate to.
Yeah.
Just, like, normal people.
What's the next generation too, right?
Right.
Right, and then when we have kids, you know, we can bring that into the raising rituals, I guess you can call it, like raising your child and telling them it's okay to talk about how you feel. Right? Like growing up, like I was fortunate enough, my mother and my father, like even though they were split, you know, my step parents, everyone was great to me. You know, I was very fortunate in that sense. And I knew if there was an issue, I could definitely talk to any four of them. Right? Some people they're not so lucky, you know, they don't like their stepfather or their stepmother, they don't get along with their mother or their father. Right. And they don't have that role model to talk to. I was fortunate to have four people in my life that, you know, all acted as role models.
You felt comfortable talking to them about anything.
Right? That's just how I was raised. A lot of people, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people, they can't talk to anyone. And that goes back to that 50%. Right? The 50% of people don't know where to go.
Right.
Right?
Well, if you don't feel comfortable even going to your own house, people in your own house, your own family, imagine trying to... And for you, it might be easy because you do have many people in your life that you can't open up to. You might be like, oh yeah, like, why can't you go to somebody? But someone that doesn't even feel that support from their own family, it's really hard to go and you know, trust somebody else. I'm kind of lucky myself. I haven't had the most supportive family. Very selfish. In a lot of ways, but that being said, like, I'm fortunate, I guess, that I did have, like, other resources available through my family. So, like, even though they maybe felt like they couldn't help me themselves, they found me some help, and I'm glad that I wasn't, like, too afraid to get help. I scared myself thinking about suicide. And it's like, why I don't think this way. Like, why am I thinking this way? You know what I mean? And it really did scare me for a long time. So I did go to my mom about it. I'm pretty sure she was the first one. Like, I'm scared, and she took me to get help right away.
That's good, man.
She didn't pry at me very long. She didn't, like, ask me, you know, a million and one questions. It was just like, all right, like, let me call someone, and
Yeah.
and we kind of went from there. And within 2 years, man, I started talking mental health, and then here we are now, 4 years later.
Yeah, man.
Doing this, so I've come a long way from not wanting to talk
Good
to
on you.
wanting to help as many people go through something similar to me.
Well, that's just it. Like I said, like I know some people. I've had people in my family with those troubles, those issues, stuff like that. And I saw what it did to my family and my friends. I don't want to see people go through that. Right? So if we can prevent suicide and all that, if sitting in this podcast is going to help 3 people, well, we help 3 people.
Yeah.
Right?
I always like to say, if we can save one life, anything we did is worth it.
100%.
Like, you know,
I guarantee this will help.
The hours and hours we put in, if we can save one life, it's worth it. And
yeah, man.
All it really is just bringing mental health to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, 2 men, like not small men,
mm-hmm.
like people look up to us. Like you're one of the leaders on the team. So like you have a lot of people kind of that you can reach.
Yeah.
And like we start doing it will be a domino effect. You'll see other people wanting to say the same thing and help other people because there are kind people.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that's the big thing that I kind of stand for these days, is like kindness and respect. Because like you said earlier, you never really know what someone's going through. So you pick on them at school, like you don't know what they're going, like what if they're getting picked on at home.
Oh, exactly.
And that's why I just try to be as kind as I can to everyone. Every interaction, whether it's I pass someone on the street, pass someone in the drive-through, like cashier at a grocery store, like I'm extremely kind all the time. Always say like have a great day. I ask people how they're doing. Like I seem like I'm interested. I seem like I care. It's not that I seem like I care. Like I genuinely do care. Like
you know, there's not a
lot
of people like that, right? That's being pure. And I respect that big time. And I think someone who I have in mind that's like that is Woodsy. Like Woods, man. You talk to him and he's doing his coaching role, asking how you're doing, how's school going, how's work going. But he genuinely cares. Like he's reaching out like, how's your math assignment? Did you get that done?
Yeah. You know? I'm always like, how did you even remember that with everything you got going on? But that just goes to show that he cares.
Yeah. And Matt Berry too, man. Like I work for the federal government right now for natural resources, and I told him once what I did for a job, and he's asking me 6 months later, he's like, "Are you still working on that tree project? Like, how's that going?" You know, and those coaches, man, they're top notch.
Yeah.
Right. Those guys are the same way. But Woodsy, especially, seeing him, he's always got a smile on his face. You can tell when he's in a bad mood. Yeah. Because he do a lot of running at practice. But I'm telling you, man, he's the same as you. Like he's always genuine, and he's asking like from the bottom of his heart, like, "How's your day going?"
Yeah.
You know.
I could tell that about Woodsy. Like as soon as I met him, you can tell he's very genuine. He's got a genuine soul. Yeah. Even just the way he carries himself and the way he speaks, the way he jokes around with every single person on the team. Like, he probably looks at us as his brothers or his little children.
Yeah.
You know, like
little minions that are around.
That's right. Yeah, little versions of him.
One thing he asked me once recently, I was going through not a tough time, but I had some stuff going on at home, and you know, it kind of affected me at practice on the Monday night session. I was kind of just was myself, I guess, and when I was kind of out of the play, still in the play or whatever, he kind of ran over and he's like, "How you feeling?" And he asked me 3 questions. He goes, "How you feeling?" I said, "I'm all right." He goes, "How's your mind?" I said, "Foggy, but it's there." And he goes, "You ready to kick ass?" I was like, "Damn right." And that fired me up. Those 3 questions. How you feeling? How's your mind? Oh, actually, there's a 4th. He also asked me, he said, "How's your heart?"
How's your heart?
How's your heart? How you feeling? How's your mind? How's your heart? Are you ready to kick ass?
Yeah.
Those 4 questions, man. And that fired me up. And that got me out of it. I went to practice, and I felt great. He's inspirational for sure. Yeah.
Man, I just wanted to ask you. I know you were talking about you like to hunt and fish and be outdoors to kind of have an escape and get your release. Yeah. Is there anything else that you do that helps with your mental health?
I mean, it comes back to exercise. You know, lately I've been hitting the gym every morning. I play hockey on Thursdays, and then Monday and Friday we have rugby. Monday it's the practice, and then Friday we have the gym session.
Right.
We had the touch league for a while on the Saturdays, so I keep busy physically doing that. But I mean, all year round, I'm hunting or fishing, right? So hunting season starts. We got an early season for goose and pheasant here in New Brunswick in September, and then there's a moose season if you're lucky enough to get your draw or to get your tag drawn, and then yeah. So I'm always looking to go outside, whether it's hunting, fishing, and half the time, like deer season, man, I counted one season, 72 hours in a blind throughout the season, 8 hours here, 4 hours here, an hour here, just sitting in my deer blind. And man, I'm telling you, like, another thing is I'm into wildlife photography. I do that kind of on the side. And watching just a couple of deer come into the field, you're watching a buck that, yeah, I could pick up my gun, shoot, and have meat for the winter. But watching just wildlife move around and watch their habits, and like especially during mating season, it's like for white-tailed deer, it's called when they're in the rut.
Right.
They're all hot and horny, right? Looking to fuck or fight.
Right.
And they chase does, their head down, their antlers up, and they chase them, their tails flaring. And seeing that stuff is like, that's so cool to me. And it's just like, it's a whole other world to me, right? So I escape like seeing wildlife, birds usually, especially. I love watching birds. Not like a weirdo sitting on a park bench feeding pigeons or anything.
Hey man, to each their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But photography, I guess, is another outlet of mine. I guess you can call it some therapy, because sometimes I'm throwing my ghillie suit on, I'm sitting in my duck blind without a gun, which most duck hunters out there would be like, what's wrong with this guy?
Are you okay?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I'd sit there and I'd just wait for ducks to come in, and I'd have decoys out and my calls, and I'd call them in, and I'd get pictures of them landing and sitting in the water and stuff like that. And it's just an escape from reality, right? Yeah, I post some on social media just to kind of get myself out there, make some money. If people want to buy some, like buy some prints.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just one, I guess, hunting, fishing. Fly fishing's, out of everything, I think, other than rugby, I think fly fishing is my biggest thing. I mean, man, I've got a fly rod tattooed on me.
Yeah.
Like that is my passion. When I was out in BC, every weekend except one where we were preparing for forest fires around the house, every weekend I was out fishing.
Damn.
Yeah. That, like, the end goal for me is be in my 50s, have a guiding company on the Skeena River or the Kitimat River in BC, and just bring people out fishing, make some money. Share that with people.
Yeah.
That's how I escape, is fishing.
I don't know the first thing about fishing.
No?
Well, no, I can fish a little. Like I have fished in the past, but like I'm not a big fisherman or anything. I like watching them fish for tuna on that. What's that big tuna? Wicked tuna. Yeah, wicked tuna. Cool.
But man, sometimes like I'm a fly fisherman, right? And it's a lot of, well, put it this way. One guy out west, real good guy, Alan, he'd call me a feather chucker, right? Because I'd tie my own flies, after work in the middle of the woods, at some camp. I'd tie my flies for the weekend, and I'd go and I'd break a bunch of them off. Half the time, man, I'm casting my rod out there, I'm doing all the fancy loops and flips, and I'd get that line just to lay out perfect. I'd be like, oh, nice. And then I wouldn't catch a fish. And I don't care. I'm out there, I can hear the river, I can see the other fishermen catching fish. I catch some fish. There was one day I fished almost a full hour without a fly on my line. I'd snapped it off somehow, like snagged it or hit a rock behind me or something. I had no idea, but I did not care.
You're still just chilling.
Oh, man. I had like 30, 40-pound salmon jumping like 8 feet in front of me. It's frustrating, but that's all part of the game.
Yeah.
Right? It's like getting tackled real hard. It's like, shit, that sucked. It's part of the game. Right?
It's part of life, man.
Exactly.
Life's just a big game.
Yeah, we're all playing it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, like, it's not a game, obviously.
Yeah.
But it helps people to think of it that way. There's game. There's a few cheat codes, but for the most part, there isn't, and you're gonna lose a few levels.
Yeah.
Lose a few levels, get kicked back. But ultimately, we don't want you to lose your life. Because you only get one. There are no lives in this video game.
Well, that's just it.
One
right?
and done.
You got to cherish what you have.
That's right.
And you don't realize that till for me, it was when I lost my grandfather, and then later on, I think it was 3 years later, I really started realizing I was 13. I was like, holy shit, like, that could be me.
Right.
Right? Like, that could be, Joe Blow down the street. Like, that could be anyone. Right? So that comes back to what you were saying is you got to spread the kindness. Right?
Yeah.
You got to be kind and genuine with everyone because you don't know what they're dealing with. Right? Your one comment could set them off. So you only have that one life, so cherish it while you can.
Yeah.
Right? You only live once.
And so does everyone else.
Exactly.
So I just, we're still trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I don't have it figured out.
So neither do I, dude.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one.
And I don't think anyone really truly does. I hear people all the time of all different ages talking about how they don't have it figured out. And when they thought they did when they were like teenagers, but now that they're older, like they still don't know what's going on. And the world's changing so fast that like it's hard to kind of keep up sometimes.
Yeah. One thing my mother always said, like, to me and everyone growing up, like, I was like looking for schools and stuff like that, applying. Like, I was like, oh, like, I don't know what I want to do for career. Like, what degree can I get or what diploma can I get that'll tell me, oh, I'm gonna have this job. She always says, she's 52 years old or 51 years old. Like, she has a career. She works for the federal government. She's been there for 20-some years.
Right.
She goes, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
And it's like, Mom, you work for the feds. You have a job. You have a pension once you retire. She's like, yeah, no, I still don't know what I want to do. This definitely isn't it. But
yeah. Like, I don't think anyone really knows.
No, nobody does, man.
Like, your 51-year-old mother's still figuring it out.
And that's just it.
How long have you thought that she's had it figured out? And she still don't know, she said.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And she's joking, but half not joking, right? Because, like, yeah, everyone ends up with a job, and some people are fortunate to have their dream job, right? Like, yeah, I said that I want to be a fishing guide in Northwest BC.
Right.
I need an education. I need a foundation to build that house, right? I need a foundation to get out there. Right. So get an environmental job or get a fisheries job, make some money, whatever. Maybe, who knows, maybe I'll be a fishing guide in the Miramichi, right? That's also in the works for me.
Yeah,
I used to guide in the Miramichi, right? That was kind of my thing. Like, I'd help people out, get them started fishing.
You know all the good spots, so.
Try to.
Yeah. No, man, I love that. That's sick.
Yeah.
I have a similar dream job, I guess. It's not fishing, but it's farming.
Farming.
Same kind of idea. I want to move back. Not back. I want to move to my reserve. Unfortunately, I never...
Excuse me. There?
Yeah, I never got to live on the reserve. Even my father... Excuse me again, I got the gas. Yeah, so even my Indigenous family, they were taken off the reserve before my dad was even born.
Really?
Yeah, I don't even know if my grandfather ever lived on the reserve. They were already in the city. So yeah, I want to try to get land there, and I'm gonna open up a farm.
Yeah.
Where I could just like grow food and what's that word called? Have cattle, I guess. Like I'll just have grow food and have cattle, have chickens, and just like harvest and give food back to my community at
kind of supply and stuff.
Yeah, but at a like cheap cost, man. Like I'm not like even right now, what I do is non-profit. Like I'm not in it for money, and that kind of led me into my next question, which was, do you think like money is a large factor for a lot of the mental health? Because there is a big relationship between poor mental health and then like poor income or low income families.
Yeah, man, 100%. Depends which way you look at it, of course, but one topic here in Fredericton is the homeless, right? There's a lot of homeless people, just like any other big city anywhere in the world, I guess, but I've been noticing it, and I've only been living here for 3 years now, and I can tell it's getting worse and worse by day.
Right.
And, some people drive by when they're panhandling, when they're panhandling for change, and they're like, oh, that's disgusting. I was like, well, they're struggling with mental health, right? Like, yeah, part of me thinks, they kind of did to themselves. They got into drugs or whatever. But we don't know everybody's story, right? They couldn't afford a house, so they lived on the street, and then they, needed something for a fix.
Right.
But I mean, personally, like, I know when I don't have a lot of money, I'm stressing.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't have enough to pay rent, like, I'm stressing hard, right? Like, I don't like asking my parents for money. Like, 22 years old, they shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
I know they're there to support me and stuff, but, like, yeah, it's stressful. I can see how it would, like, definitely take a toll on you mentally.
And
Right?
everyone's different too. So, like, I mean, we all live similarly,
Mm-hmm.
but like everyone is different and deals with things differently. So, yeah, we don't know these homeless people's stories.
Yeah.
And sure, they look like junkies. They
Yeah.
look like they're on some drugs, but maybe they were on drugs from like a car accident or
Yeah.
something that happened to them when they were younger, and it just kind of got carried out of hand. Because there's also like almost, I want to say, 30% of people are on prescription drugs that they
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be on
Mm-hmm.
because doctors overprescribe for certain conditions. And yeah, so it's not always their fault. The addiction problem isn't always their fault. That being said, I'm sure there are some that they were just like spoiled, rotten kids who just thought they could do whatever they wanted, partied,
Yeah.
and then things got out of control, whatever. Now they're adults who still haven't grown up. They're
Yeah.
abusing drugs, and a lot of them, like I know of homeless people that choose to live on the street,
Mm-hmm.
and like they're not even broke. Like they
Mm-hmm.
have money in the bank, but
Yeah.
they just choose to live on the street.
I know there's
Excuse me.
a lot of people nowadays, and it's kind of off topic, but they live in vans and buses.
Yeah.
Right? They live in I call it the hippie lifestyle, but just cruising around, man, doing their thing.
Yeah,
And
COVID fucked up a lot for a lot of people.
yeah, man,
And the
big time.
prices, everything went up. So
Mhm.
people did have to resort to moving into their cars. And yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, well, you look at inflation and all that. Like, I know recently the price of milk, for an example, went up
Yep.
$1. Right? Doesn't seem like much, but that's, if you get milk every week or every other week, it adds up. On top of all your other groceries. So then you're struggling to pay your groceries, pay your rent. My rent's going up next year, as is for everyone,
Yeah.
right? Most people are going to stress about that, right? It's more money. Minimum wage is pretty low here in New Brunswick. I think it's like $15 around
Yeah,
there
15,
somewhere.
25 or something.
15.25.
I'm not even sure these days.
Yeah, but yeah, money definitely does influence your mental health,
Yeah, I agree.
right?
For sure.
For the good and the bad, right? If you have lots of money and you got nothing to worry about, well, good on you.
Yeah, but that being said, too, so people with a lot of money still deal with mental health problems.
Oh,
And that's
100%.
kind of where I was getting at with that question is,
Mhm.
like, I used to stress and care a lot about money.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't, like, want to single you out or anything, but you kept saying, like, oh, my goal is to
Mm-hmm.
fly fish and make money and do
Yeah.
this and make a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I think that's great. Money
Yeah.
is a huge motivation for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Some people are really strong and capable of finding that motivation, that ambition to have a
course.
lot of money at a young age. They figure it
Yeah.
out early. And I used to kind of want that too. I was like seeing my friends who did very well in stocks. I have another friend who has an excellent job, like right out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have a lot of money. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, like I want that money. We were going back to that comparing
Yeah, I
myself
was
to
gonna
my
say
friends and stuff.
comparison. Yeah.
But I like realized a little bit through my father, but also a little bit like just with age, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It was like money isn't even a real thing, like it's being printed by the government.
Yep.
And it represents the
Yeah.
value of something else. Like money itself isn't like it's a social concept. It's like or
Well,
a
it
social
is, yeah.
construct. Yeah, like it's created by the people for
Mhm.
and so I don't really care about money, And
Yeah.
ever since I kind of stopped caring about money, I've had more money like come to me. I guess it's
Yeah.
like almost the reverse of the
Yeah.
law of
It's kind of like trying
attraction.
too hard type thing.
Yeah, like you try
Yeah.
so hard, like you almost spend money to invest money. But once I stopped caring about money and I was just chilling and I was helping people, like I would buy hats and gloves and
Mhm.
scarves to donate to the reserves or donate to schools in Charlotte
Mhm.
County. I would buy skipping ropes and different speed ladders and like different exercise equipment so that way I can share with people and yeah, just like being kind and trying to help as much as I can, and like that things that I needed started to come towards me more.
Yeah.
You can almost say it was like good karma, I guess.
Yeah, I guess what goes around comes around, right?
Yeah. But it wasn't like money wasn't what motivated me. Like I lost a lot of money at first, and then like I've found it, but I also like found happiness and stuff. And I think like although money might motivate people, I think the true goal is happiness in life.
Yeah,
Everyone
100%.
like you fly fishing makes you happy.
Yeah.
Money would make you happy because you can then fly fish, or then you can do and
Yeah,
help
it
other
comes
people.
down to what you really love.
Yeah, and I think like everyone has the same goal in life, man, and that's just to be happy. And that's what MINAWAANIGOZI means.
Okay.
It's a translation in an Ojibwe, like in Ojibwe,
Yeah.
which is an American Algonquin language, or a Native American Algonquin language.
Okay.
Yeah, so MINAWAANIGOZI translates directly to he or she is happy, or like acting happy. So I thought it was fitting to use that one because I can use that term and share at least one word from the Ojibwe language with people, but also it means be like pretty much be happy.
Yeah.
We are happy. So I just thought it was really fitting.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. I wasn't too sure.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing to say too. So it's like you don't want to try to pronounce the word, but also like ask about it. But eventually, everyone's gonna know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Just because this hopefully reach a lot of people and be supported from a lot of people who are like minded and think the same way as we do. And yeah, MINAWAANIGOZI, Ojibwe word for we are happy. And, yeah, man.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, appreciate it. I just want to share one thing. So I have some info here that it's like what can we do to reduce risk? So suicide risk in youth can be reduced in 4 basic ways: reducing the psychological pain, increasing hope, enhancing connection, and reducing the capability for suicide. So some other factors that might reduce risk is having a strong family connection, having a positive school environment, strong supportive relationships with your friends or trusted adults, obviously having good self-esteem, being hopeful for the future, recognize that emotions are not static, that one's emotional state is constantly changing, and being involved in positive activities outside regular school hours. So extracurricular activities, sports, fishing. Those are just a few ways that you can better your mental health and the mental health of those around you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say?
One thing that's stuck out from what you just said was the future and looking forward to something. That's one thing that I try to give myself daily. Like every morning I go to the gym, right? So the night before I'm planning my workout and I'm looking forward to going to the gym. I don't dread it.
Right.
So I think whatever task you have to do, look forward to doing it, whether it be good or bad.
Right.
Or, for me, like I know this Saturday I'm going to, help rebuild my dad's boat. I'm bringing my buddy Jesse along. I'm looking forward to that. So I got to get through this week just to get to Saturday.
Right.
Once Saturday comes, I'm like looking forward to the next week.
Right.
So you're always looking forward, right? I don't look on the past. That's one thing I taught myself, and it took a long time.
Right.
But that's one thing that I told myself I wouldn't do. Don't dread the past.
I'm glad you said it took a long time, because that's one thing, like, nothing happens overnight.
That's
And you do these small little changes, like just being more hopeful or trying to forget more about what happened and focus more on what's going to happen. Yeah, I like that you said it. Took a long time, because everything takes time.
I think this past summer really did it for me. Like I really found my true self. And as hippie as that sounds, it's true. Like I knew who I was before. I knew my values, but I was in bad shape. Mentally, I was just not there. I was there physically, but mentally I was in my own mind too much.
Right.
So going out there, having that 4-month escape of just working, hanging out with a best friend, shout out to Jesse. He really, without knowing, he helped me through a lot. Just being there and just doing shit.
Being a real person.
Just being a real person, being
Yeah.
genuine. He's one of the nicest guys I know, man. And I'm telling you, like, those 4 months of my life are probably the best. Going out there, just doing me, right? The boys tease me because all I talk about is BC, but that's where I belong,
Yeah.
right? That, like, someday I'll either move out there or I'll go out there for a couple months or something. But I really realized who I was, what my values were, and I told myself to stay true to those, right? Like, wake up and make your bed, or wake up and brush your teeth. Whatever the first thing that you got to do in the morning, do it,
Right.
right? I forget who it was. I was watching a podcast the other day at work. I was working. I just had my headphones in, and buddy on the podcast was saying that he does 2 things when he gets up: makes his bed, brushes his teeth. That way, he knows he accomplished 2 things
Right away.
right away.
Within the first 10 minutes of you being awake,
That's
you've
all
already
it is.
you've already done 2 things.
Because he struggled with mental health, and he said those 2 things. He gets up, he makes his bed, goes downstairs, brushes his teeth, then he starts his day.
Yeah. I think that's
He already achieved something.
it's
Right?
a great way to start your day. And it's those small things like making your bed, or you know, like putting your laundry in the laundry basket. Like those
Yeah.
small little things, instead of like having your laundry on the floor. They make a huge difference, for sure.
Like, I know a big thing for me, like sitting down doing my schoolwork, I have a really hard time doing that because most of my stuff is all online.
Right.
Right? To actually sit down and do that, it takes a lot. Right? I got ADHD. I can't sit down. I live in a house of 4 dudes.
Yeah.
So at night, I go up to my room, I put some music on, and just doing that, I'm like, all right, I'm here. I got to sit down and do this shit.
Right.
I sit down out with my laptop, I'm going through. Right now, I'm renewing my passport and a few other things, and just printing out those papers so I can mail them in. That's one step. That's driving me forward
Right.
each and every day. So it's all the little things that, looking forward, like I said earlier, looking into the future, giving yourself something to look for
Yeah.
is what I kind of thrive on.
And just being grateful for everything, even the fact that you have a bed that you get to make,
Yeah,
or you have water to brush your teeth in,
yeah,
or a toothbrush.
yeah,
Because I think that's a big thing. It's like the more you think negative, or the more that you're worried about what negative things have happened, you're just like almost attracting that negative energy to you. Like the law of attraction is a real thing. I didn't want to be so positive. Like, yeah, the law of attraction's real.
yeah,
Because, like, I mean, what even is real, what isn't, who knows?
yeah.
But I feel like it is, man. I believe in the law of attraction. Like, you think negatively, you're going to present negative energy. So, like, if I was negative all the time, you're going to look at me as a negative person, so is everyone else, and negative things are going to come back to me. But if I'm, like, full of light and happy all the time, like, you're going to see me as that happy person, so will everyone else, and happy things will happen to me.
Yeah, man, 100%.
Obviously, bad things will happen too, but it's just the way that you approach it. If you
Yeah.
approach it with a negative mindset, then you're likely to have negative outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, before we end, there's one thing that I always say is, if you tell someone, you give them, say, 10 things about them, 9 of them are positive, and 1 is negative, they're taking home that 1 negative thing.
Right. Yeah.
I can guarantee you 90% of the people will agree with that, right? Because if you tell me, oh, I like your pants, I like your shirt, I like this, but I don't like your hat, I'm going to remember that. I'm not going to remember the 9 other things you told me that you like,
Yeah.
right?
Like, we'll be, like, next time I see you, I'll be like, hey, man, you hated my hat. But you'll be like, but I liked your pants and your shirt.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even remember what pants or shirt I was wearing. But
Yeah.
I'd remember what hat I had on.
Well, that's just it, right?
Yeah.
And that goes with, like, you know, if you're, recently I was in a work conference or whatever, and we were giving feedback, and it was constructive criticism, but we made sure that when we were explaining what this lady could do better, we did it in a positive aspect, right? Because we don't want to bring her down, or anyone down in that case.
Right.
But it's like, we want to send lots of love, lots of positivity over on her end, so she can build from that. Be like, oh, you know, you got off topic a lot, but I really think it was a good thing because you targeted some points that you weren't going to target before.
Right.
Right? Kind of like us tonight, all over the place.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I say, if you can sit back and think, how can I say this in a more positive, constructive way instead of a negative way? Like, oh, like, this podcast isn't going to go anywhere. It's like, no, it's gonna. Takes time.
Yeah.
Right? Might only get a couple hundred views, but it'll get somewhere.
Hey, man, if 200 people end up watching this, but one person out of those 200 feels better and has learned something that they could do, like fishing or going for a walk or
Talk to someone.
Well, yeah, and this is all things that people already know. It's just, it's not talked about enough.
Yeah.
So if one person feels better after watching this video, then it was worth it.
Yeah, man, 100%.
Because I know too many people that have taken their own life at all different ages, and so does everyone else. Like, suicide and mental health is a real thing that affects so many of us. And, you're not alone, and we're here for you. And I just want to say thanks again, Greg, for being here today. It really does mean a lot.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And, I'll ask around, see if anyone else wants to come on here.
Yeah, please. Anyone that has a story to share or a message that they would like to get out to the world. The more the merrier when it comes to this. So, that's a wrap for the second episode of the MINAWAANIGOZI podcast. Yeah. Till next time.
Peace out.
See you later.